Picture this. It's Sunday night. You're sitting on the couch, maybe scrolling your phone, maybe watching Netflix, and that little knot in your stomach starts to show up. Not because you hate your job. Actually, your job's pretty stable. Good company, decent salary, benefits, 401k, direct deposit every 2 weeks like clockwork. And yet, there's this quiet thought you don't say out loud. If something happened to this job, I'd be in real trouble. Look, if you've ever told yourself, I'm not rich, but at least my income is safe, this video is for you. Because here's the uncomfortable truth most people never stop to examine. Your income is probably the riskiest financial asset you have. And today, we're going to break down exactly why. My name is Chris, and I spend way too much time thinking about income, risk, and why people with stable jobs still feel financially stressed. If you work hard, get a paycheck every 2 weeks, and still feel like one bad month could mess everything up, hit subscribe, and let's talk about why your income might be riskier than you think. Here's the thing. We've been taught since we were kids that the safest financial move is to get a good job, a stable job, one employer, one paycheck, one path. And look, that advice used to make sense, like genuinely. In the 1950s and 60s, the average worker stayed with the same employer for over 20 years. Pensions were common, layoffs were rare, and companies actually felt responsible for their employees long term. Fast forward to today. According to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, the average job tenure is now about 4 years. For workers under 35, it's closer to 2.8 years. That's not stability, that's musical chairs. And yet, we still mentally price our income as if it's guaranteed. Here's what most people don't realize. A single-source income is not stable. It's concentrated risk, which brings us to the first uncomfortable comparison, the income versus investment blind spot. If I told you, hey, I put 100% of my investments into one single stock, you'd probably say, Chris, that's insane. And you'd be right. Every financial advisor on earth would scream about diversification, risk management, downside exposure, and volatility. But when it comes to income, most people say, oh yeah, all my income comes from one employer. Totally fine. Look, your paycheck is an asset. It's just an asset with really bad diversification. Let's do some math. Say you make $75,000 a year. If you're 30 years old and plan to work until 65, that's 35 more working years. $75,000 times 35 equals $2.6 million in future income. Let that sink in. You're walking around with a multi-million-dollar asset controlled entirely by one company, one manager, one industry, one economy. If your 401k dropped 20%, you'd panic. But if your entire income went to zero tomorrow, that's a 100% loss. And that's where this gets really interesting. So why don't we treat income like the fragile asset it is? Psychology. Specifically, recency bias and normalcy bias. Here's how it works. You've been getting paid every 2 weeks for years, so your brain assumes this will continue. Even though the data says otherwise, according to a 2023 Federal Reserve report, nearly 40% of Americans experienced an unexpected income disruption in the past 12 months. Layoffs, reduced hours, company closures, health issues. It adds up fast. But because income loss is emotionally uncomfortable, we avoid thinking about it. We insure our phones, we insure our cars, we insure our homes. But the thing that pays for all of that, we barely protect it at all. Now you might be thinking, okay, Chris, but I work in a stable field. My job is secure. Cool, let's talk about that. Every single industry thinks it's safe until it isn't. Let me give you a few real examples. Tech. Between 2022 and 2024, over 400,000 tech workers were laid off globally. These were high-income, high-skill, future-proof jobs. Healthcare. Hospital systems are cutting staff due to consolidation and reimbursement changes. Education. Enrollment drops and budget shortfalls are slashing positions. Finance. Automation and AI are quietly replacing mid-level roles. Here's the illusion. We mistake current demand for permanent demand. But income risk doesn't announce itself ahead of time. It shows up as, we're restructuring. We're going in a different direction. This wasn't performance-based. And suddenly, your stable income disappears, which leads to the real danger. Lifestyle inflation is the silent multiplier. This is where people get trapped. As income feels stable, spending rises to match it. New car, bigger apartment, subscriptions, lifestyle upgrades that feel small individually, but massive together. Let's do another example. Say you earn $80,000 and spend $70,000 a year. That feels reasonable, right? But here's the real math. Your burn rate, about $5,800 a month. Emergency fund, maybe $10,000. Runway, less than 2 months. So a single income disruption turns into credit card debt, retirement withdrawals, panic decisions, and emotionally, that's brutal, which is why people cling even harder to job stability, even when it's clearly fragile. This part doesn't get talked about enough. When you rely on one income source, you tolerate bad managers, you avoid negotiating pay, you stay in jobs you've outgrown, you suppress risk-taking and creativity, because your entire financial survival depends on not rocking the boat. That's not stability. That's financial captivity. And the wild thing is, most people don't notice it happening. They just feel burned out, stuck, anxious, afraid to make moves. This is why income diversification isn't just about money. It's about freedom. Here's what most people don't realize. Stability doesn't come from where your income comes from. It comes from how many different ways you can earn it. Let's compare two people. Person A, one job, $90,000 salary, no side income. Person B, $55,000 job, $20,000 freelance, $10,000 investments, $5,000 online income. Person B technically earns less, but is far more stable. Why? Because losing any one income stream doesn't destroy them. This is how wealthy people think, not how do I earn more, but how do I reduce the chance of total income failure? All right, let's get practical. You don't fix this overnight, but you can fix it deliberately. Step 1. Calculate your income concentration. Ask yourself, what percent of my income comes from one source? If it's over 70%, you're exposed. Step 2. Build a true income emergency fund. Not 3 months of expenses, 3 to 6 months of income replacement runway. That means covering housing, insurance, food, minimum debt payments. Step 3. Add a second skill-based income, not a random hustle, something that uses skills you already have, can scale slowly, doesn't rely on one platform. Freelancing, consulting, digital products, tutoring. Start small. Step 4. Separate lifestyle from income growth. When income increases, save first, invest second, upgrade lifestyle last. This creates margin, and margin creates safety. Step 5. Invest for cash flow, not just growth. Dividends, interest, rental income, royalties, even small amounts change how you think. Here's the mindset shift that flips the script. Stop asking, how stable is my job? Start asking, how resilient is my income? Because stability is fragile. Resilience adapts. And once you see income this way, everything changes. Career choices, spending habits, risk tolerance, confidence. You stop living paycheck to paycheck even at high income, and start building something that can take a hit. Look, I know this can feel uncomfortable. Nobody wants to admit the thing they depend on most is risky. But awareness is power. And the goal isn't fear, it's preparation. Because the people who get hurt financially aren't the ones who lose jobs. They're the ones who never prepared for the possibility. So if this video made you rethink how stable your income really is, good. That's the first step toward actually fixing it. Hit subscribe if you want more honest conversations about money. Drop a comment if this hit a little close to home, and I'll see you in the next one.